Hello and welcome to I think it's episode 7 of the NOTCAST, where I just talk about things to a camera. Today I'm going to talk about CDs versus vinyl, and if you're one of these people that relies on clickbait, that no doubt it would be called Mark destroys arguments about these things, or listen to it as he totally tears his argument apart, and there'd be a reaction video and go, oh my god, no, Metallica are playing a song or something. Or I'd sit there and I'd go, and then all of a sudden Phil Collins would go, and like 15 million people go, oh my god, people have got ears, they react to music, but that's not the world I live in. I am not destroying anything. I am just forensically dismantling a poorly made argument. This has been largely kind of brought about by an announcement about a box set by an artist called Elvis Costello. It's a reissue of his Armed Forces album, which costs around £200, and he's not releasing it on compact disc. He's only releasing it on vinyl. He's only releasing it on a format that has 3 LPs, 3 10 inches and 3 7 inches in there, as well as some books. And when he was asked about that, he said a couple of things that I think need to be addressed. And I think what he said here was, firstly, he says that CD is a medium that has seen its day, and I'm going to quote him here: "I can't say I shed any tears about that. It was always an inferior compromise that involved not paying the artist properly, and really is demonstrably inferior to vinyl as a sonic storage system." So I'm just going to address that. Firstly, I'd like to present a crown to Elvis Costello as the king of Wrongtown. Secondly, I'm just going to go through those particular statements bit by bit and just show why it's inaccurate. Firstly, I'd just like to point out vinyl is killing the MP3 industry. As I said earlier, all of my t-shirts are thematically correct. Elvis also says, and he says that all the artwork is cramped into a horrible little booklet which gets ripped the second time you take it out of the plastic sleeve. So really, firstly, I don't know how he treats his CDs, but I can guarantee you that there is one CD out of everything that I've got here that has been ripped, and the reason being is I accidentally scrunched up a bit of paper that the sleeve was on top of when I was a 20-year-old, and I feel a little daft about that, but I did actually intend to destroy the sheet of paper which I was working on above it, and that is why I do not have that's why I have a ripped sleeve. The CD, by the way, is Pets by Porno for Pyros. So let's address kind of what Elvis has said step by step. First and foremost, as any of you who know me know, I love records. I love vinyl. I think vinyl is a wonderful art form. It's a a mass-produced work of art that's beautiful, but as a sonic storage system, vinyl is by no means superior to CD. So we're going to look at here, for example, this is John Grant's Pale Green Ghosts on green vinyl. It's one of my favourite albums of all time, and we'll just use a standard record to talk this through. So this is 2 vinyl discs. It's 12-inch by 12-inch. It's fairly big. It carries 3 songs on a side. Now the CD version of this, I wish I'd done this sooner. I'm just going to go and pick it out from here. This is the bit where you suddenly realise that I've got too much stuff. So this is here, LP edition, CD edition. Now, if we want to think about what's superior as a storage format, it depends what you mean by your criteria as being superior as a storage format. Now, if you want to store music, if you want to see this as a music delivery device, let's just take these 2 records and match them all up. So this one, 12 inches by 12 inches, and it contains 11 of the best songs ever written on 2 vinyl discs. This one, less than half the size, less than half the height. It's double the width, but it's double the width because it contains a second CD with an extra 6 songs on it. So you've got 17 songs on here, as opposed to 11 songs on here. This is less than half the size in every way. Now you know, the average kind of storage capacity that you would have for a vinyl disc, let's say a standard 1 LP release from, you know, the 90s. Let's pick out a copy of, I think, no, I haven't put it in there. Pick out a copy of Achtung Baby, for example. 55 minutes of music on an LP, and that's really pushing the capacities of the format, about 27 minutes on each side. So we're looking at a 12-inch vinyl disc with maybe 6 songs on it on one side at most. Most albums these days, they put them out as 2 LPs. So effectively, you know, for twice the surface area on this than you have on here, you get 3 songs, up to 5 songs on there. You get up to 80 minutes of music on one side here. So in terms of storage and efficiency for space, compact discs are superior. I'm not going to pretend vinyl isn't sexy. It is. I love it. I love listening to it. I've got no skin in the game here. I've got no preference about this. But anyone that says that vinyl is a superior storage system is wrong on every level. Okay, CDs have a wider capacity. They've got somewhere in the region of something like 400% more storage for the space, and also, you know, they're as thin as a vinyl record. Okay, there's also another thing I'm going to bring out, which is around the sonics and the dynamics that we've got on there. Now, if you were to look at, say, a vinyl record, they're all made out of just concentric grooves, and each groove and the shape and the delineation inside the groove kind of highlights the music that's inside there. So let's just Google close-up of vinyl record. As you can tell, I have not been as prepared for this as I have been for others, but we're going to very closely just have a look and see what does a vinyl record look like when it's up close. So here's a wonderful photograph of a vinyl record. Again, when eventually it loads, you'll be able to see what that looks like. But you know, there is a limit to the peaks and the highs and the lows that you can have inside the sonic information that's on a record. Now that's a groove on an album. And if we move a little closer, you know, this here, that may very well look like a sand dune or a natural formation. That's a vinyl record. That's the music that's encased inside it. And as you can see, you are limited by the fact that the needle goes inside the groove, the vibrations inside the needle are transmitted into stereo information, and that the record can't jump. So you're limited by the sonic information that you can carry in that. On a CD, there is no limitation around the highs or the lows that you can have inside the sonic reproduction of the sound. It can be as loud and as distorted as you like, and unless, you know, you've scratched it or you've covered it in strawberry jam like Tomorrow's World, it won't jump. It's also got 80 minutes of storage space on each CD. A vinyl record, as I've said, at best is probably around about 55. Most people these days tend to go for double vinyl. So again, 3 songs per side. So let's quickly kind of just talk through some box sets and talk through, you know, the pricing decisions that Elvis has put together here. So we've got 3 LPs, let's say £20 each. That'll be £60. Then you've got 3 10-inches. Let's say that's £15. So that's what, £45. You've got £105 worth of product in there. Then you've got 3 7-inch singles. Now, in order to make that up to £200, each one of those 7-inch singles has got to be £31 each. It's a rip-off. It really, really is. And to say that, you know, a vinyl is a superior storage system, if you're only interested in storage, vinyl is not and will never be a superior storage system. It sounds lovely, it looks lovely, absolutely great, but it takes up a heck of a lot of real estate, and it's expensive. It really is to buy box sets. Not only are they expensive to buy, they're expensive to store. And I'm going to kind of pick up on that in a minute. One of the other things, Elvis says, that you've got cramped artwork. on CDs. So we're going to look at this beastie here, which is the 2017 7 or 8 LP version of the Joshua Tree. Let's have a look at the artwork that we've got on here. Let's just see what you know Elvis is telling us is in here. So we've got a book of photographs by the guitar player, The Edge. That is, you know, pretty hefty. It's also pretty big. We've got this here, which is the photographs by Anton Corbijn. So that's 16 12-inch by 12-inch prints. You've got a triple vinyl disc here of remixes and B-sides. Again, that's and then you've got a double vinyl here of an edited version of the show at Madison Square Garden in 1987. And the reason that is edited is so it fits on one CD. You've also got a double vinyl edition here of the Joshua Tree album. Originally it was a single LP inside a gatefold sleeve. This time round it's a double LP. Not quite sure why. So in terms of a vinyl delivery system, you know, you've got a lot of space there. But let's just quickly kind of put this all back in the box. So there, 12-inch by 12-inch box, gold foil, probably about 4 inches in width. So that's about, yeah, it's about half a square foot, pretty much, in terms of actual space that it takes up. And for some reason, it's fairly tightly packed. Now, they did a CD edition of the Joshua Tree in 2017. Here's the CD edition. It's pretty big, isn't it? Looks like the artwork isn't squashed up on the CD. And, you know, you open it up. Again, you've got the sturdy box here. And let's just have another closer look and see what else we've got in there eventually if it comes out. I haven't taken this out since I ripped it onto CD, so I probably should have practiced that beforehand. Oh, it's got the same contents. Let's have a look. So there's the Joshua Tree 4 CDs here inside an LP sized box or case. Folds out, download code, gatefold. Oh man, that artwork is so cramped, isn't it? So flimsy. Rips as soon as you look at it. Yeah, come on, Elvis. And then you've got 16 photographs by Anton Corbijn. That looks familiar. And what else have we got? Oh, we've got a book by The Edge. That looks familiar too. And again, comes in a box. So in terms of a storage system, you can actually deliver the same music that's in this big Joshua Tree box here in a 4 CD clamshell box that is no bigger than this here, the Kylie Minogue Thirst 3 albums. And you know, certainly some people are thinking, well, if we want to charge more money for a box set, we have to put it in a big box to make it look like it's worth the money that we're charging for it. So this, by the way, the CD edition, I think that was about £85 when that was originally announced. This edition of the Joshua Tree was somewhere in the region of £140-ish when it was originally announced. I bought this when it was heavily discounted about 6 months after it came out for less than half of that price. So really, people want to sell you vinyl box sets because there's bigger profit margins in them. And that's probably where it all comes from, to be honest. The perception is a vinyl release is worth more money than a CD release. And therefore, if we sell the vinyl, we can sell for more money. The per unit profit ratio is higher. I've just put the box in incorrectly, but what we do have is you know, the idea that the cover art is smaller, it gets ripped, it doesn't feel so substantial. It's palpable nonsense. It really is. If Elvis wanted to put out a CD version of the box set in a 12-inch by 12-inch box that had paper that was printed on a decent quality card that didn't rip, he could do it. He just doesn't want to do it. Okay, he just does not want to do it. And we're going to talk about how now a storage system actually works. So we're going to put out a couple of examples. So here's David Gilmour live in Pompeii. Here is the box set version of it, which is smaller than the vinyl edition. So the vinyl edition, 4 LPs, about 2.5 hours of music. Again, substantially discounted from a major online retailer because nobody was spending £100 on it. This contains the set's on 2 CDs. It contains 2 Blu-rays. So it contains the show with Pompeii. It contains a show from, I think, Santiago, and one from Rocklaw, and a couple of documentaries. So actually, you get twice as much music, and you get a bunch of documentaries, you get a bunch of CDs. It's probably not as sexy because it's not pressed on a bit of dead wax, but it is, in terms of a music delivery system, it has more content and it has more sexy stuff in it than the vinyl edition does. It's got postcards, it's got posters, it's got a book, it's got an interview with the historian Mary Beard in it, which is, as far as I can tell, not in the vinyl edition. Again, Pink Floyd, Pulse. You might detect that I might have a secret love for prog rock. Not so secret. 2 CD edition. Here's the same version on vinyl. Twice the size. Twice the width. Twice the height. Twice the everything. So in fact, in terms of the footprint, you could get 8 copies of this in the same space that the vinyl 4-disc version takes up. And the only thing that's different is that the book is slightly bigger and you've got one more song on the vinyl edition, and that one song, by the way, is reproduced on the DVD release. So to say that vinyl is a superior storage system is not true. To further reinforce the point, here's Craftworks, the catalogue 3D. 8 albums, although really you could probably get it onto 4 CD versions here. Again, in a box, comes with a booklet. Let's quickly go through the booklet because that is important. Again, here's a booklet. Pictures of German robots, Eins, zwei, drei, vier, and text and supporting information that goes with it. Vinyl edition. Okay, so that's, you know, fairly big. Retails for about £40. Vinyl edition here, again, purchased from a major online retailer for substantially less than the retail price. The retail price of this is £130, which is £90 more than the CD edition. 8 vinyl discs. Again, you could get easily 4 copies of this in there. So, is it a superior storage system? No, it's just a really nice, sexy bit of vinyl. And here's the Blu-ray edition of it that comes with a 300-page book. Now, you put these two together, by the way, the 2 versions here. Not quite a square foot, but pretty wide and pretty hefty. And I'm going to talk about the size of these sets in a minute. But what I'm also going to talk about is something else. And since I'm aware that just looking at my face while I talk at you about things isn't very interesting, I might just randomly just pick up odd little records and go, as we go along. So, first and foremost, the comments around cramped artwork, easily ripped. No, not true, inaccurate. Only cramped artwork if you don't take time and attention and care to it. Only easily ripped if you don't know how to handle a record properly or a CD. It's not a superior storage format. And if you hadn't got CDs, people wouldn't have invented the box set, because when they invented CDs, they had to figure out, how can we sell you the things that you already own in a format that you don't already own? And therefore to go, you know, you bought Acting Baby a while ago. Well, let's do a box set. Let's put 6 CDs, 4 DVDs. Let's put a book in there. Let's put some art prints in there. Let's sell it for a few £100. The most expensive version of this comes with a pair of Bono sunglasses and is about £500. This version was £75 and originally retailed at something like £150. So you could argue that by targeting CDs and saying that they're a dead format, is that the industry wants to move us away from the concept of ownership, which I talked about in NOTCAST 4, which was about preserving the digital legacy. And, you know, there's some mileage to be had in that. They would much rather rent us the music that we like, so that we pay for it every time that we listen to it, and then they make money continually on a revenue stream, as opposed to a one-off injection of a capital purchase that then means that you own the music. I don't want to get too far down that particular rabbit hole. There's definitely some validity in there, but we have to think about, you know, a couple of other things around that. At the beginning of the year, there was a statement that the revenues from vinyl, that vinyl was outselling CDs for the first time. Well, yes and no. And you know, the old phrase, lies, lies, and damned statistics. So, this box set, £130 when it comes out. This box set, £40 when it comes out. You need to sell 3 1/4 of these to make up the same revenue as you do one of these. So they're not playing on an even playing field here, are they? Especially considering that CDs now make 38% of the market, vinyl makes 62% of the market, but only by sales in terms of actual cost. So let's break that down a little bit, okay? So one vinyl album. Let's see if we can pick out perhaps a particular example that I've got here. I'm going to pick out something totally at random, by the way, out of my selection here. So let's say if you wanted to buy a copy of Soft Cell and Mark Almond, I think this is now deleted, but if they were, you know, publishing this as a vinyl and it was reissued now, it would be what, £20 at least. You try and buy the CD version of that, £2.99 in a supermarket. No wonder vinyl's got higher revenue. And you break down the average per unit cost price. So this here will be £10, and the John Grant album, which is here, that will be £20.25 at least. You need to sell 2 copies of this to equal the revenue that you'll sell from 1 copy of this. And since this is the coloured vinyl version, it might even go up to £30. So you need to sell 3 copies of this to make up the same revenue as 1 copy of this. And that's where people are biasing it. So they said that, you know, in 2019, I think £232 million of vinyl was purchased compared to £142 million of CDs. So average price of a CD £10. So in the UK that would be 14.2 million CDs. Average price of a vinyl £20–25. So therefore you'd probably be looking at maybe 10 million LPs. And vinyl, by the way, only constitutes 4% of the entire revenue of the market. 85% comes from streaming, which means 11% comes from somewhere else. So how does that work? I'm not quite sure. 6% in market downloads, 5% from CDs, maybe. And you know, you look at the numbers that you've got, and I've quickly got some statistics on here. But I think it's, you know, clear that the reason that vinyl is selling more than CDs in terms of pure numbers alone, which therefore makes everyone think that, oh, CDs are dying and vinyl is going to live forever, is because, well, vinyl's 2.5 times as much. So you only need to sell 33%, 40% maybe of the number of units that you need to sell as a CD. No wonder then that vinyl is outselling CD. It isn't, not by the numbers, and you can't play a vinyl record in your car. In fact, you can't play a CD in most of your cars either. But also, I'm going to pick up another thing, and this is a thing that I don't think many people have really started to grasp around the box sets. These things are huge, and they are heavy, and they are expensive. And frankly, there's only so much space in a British house for these type of things. You know, I know my record collection is basically like having a portable art museum of modern music in my house. Well, not so modern music in many cases, but we look at I'm going to throw some statistics and some numbers out at you, and this is where I wish I'd planned it better. So here I'm going to do some very, very quick things on a piece of paper. Okay, so an average UK house, by the way, has a size of 818 square feet, which is 76 square meters. Okay, right, so an American or a Canadian house has an average size of 1,948 square feet and 181 square meters. Okay, so a Canadian or an American house is twice the size on average of a British one, which is fine, because if you've got a lot of box sets, you need a house that's twice as big. And that's where they're not thinking this one through, because the size of this, not only is this expensive, the size of it is expensive, and the size of buying a box set, if you have a mortgage, is probably going to be at least equal to the price that you will have paid for it. So how have I worked that out? a question that you didn't ask. So the Royal Institute of British Architects said in 2011 that the average size of a new build house in Britain was shrinking, and it was shrinking from the previous size, which they'd done in the previous decade, of something like 84 square metres, and the size that the Royal Association of British Architects or the Institute has said shouldn't be 76 square metres, but it should be 93 square metres. So let's do some quick maths around that. 76 square metres, average house price £231,000, by the way, which is ridiculous. And so therefore the average cost per square foot, and I'm going to use a calculator because I'm retro here, right? So let's divide 231,000. Oops, too many zeros there. 231,000 divided by, let's go, divided by 818, and the number we get, £282 per square foot in your house. So every square foot in an average British house costs £282 in raw purchase cost alone. These box sets that take up 1 square foot will probably cost somewhere in the region of £300 to buy if you buy them at retail. This one here, Pink Floyd, the later years, retail price £429. That is more expensive than buying its size in your house on a mortgage, which is, let's not beat around the bush here, bloody ridiculous. Okay, so unless you've got cash in the bank, you need to get a mortgage. So how much is that actually going to cost you? Well, let's work out 25-year mortgage, right? And with an average interest rate 3.92%. So the cost that you will have for that will turn out at, in the UK, £362,000. Okay, so the £362,000. Let's ask Mr. Calculator. 818, actually 362,000 divided by 818. So if you've got a mortgage, the average cost per square foot of your house is £442.5, okay? Which, considering that, so therefore half a square foot costs you about £222, and half a square foot of box set probably costs you about £222. So every time you buy a great big whacking box set, you're not only are you paying the price that it costs for you to pay for it, you're going to be paying that price again in your mortgage payments if you've got a mortgage. If you're in Canada, by the way, the average house price is $531,000. So the average price per square foot is, I think, $833 per square foot. This stuff is expensive. Buying these things will cost you as much in mortgage payments as actually buying them will cost you, just in the concept of the sheer space they just take up in your house. And I'd like to point out that the Royal Institute of British Architects did a poll of British house buyers. Okay, 58% of British house buyers with a 76 square metre property say there is not enough space for their furniture. They will also say 70% of them say they've not enough storage space for their stuff. So the size of these things matters. The smaller they are, the better they are, the cheaper they are, the more you can afford them. So let's, we've looked at the size and the quality of the artwork, demonstrably not the case, especially for box sets. We've looked at a storage medium. Vinyl is woefully inefficient compared to CD in terms of just sheer storage per space that you're using. I'm going to have to pick out not an Oasis CD because they're terminally uncool. This one here, new order, in order, compilation, promo, about 60-70 minutes on that CD. If that was a record, 2 vinyl discs. Okay, no discussion around it. 2 vinyl discs that would be more than 2.5 times the height, 2.5 times the width, probably about the same depth. Vinyl is not an efficient storage system. It sounds lovely. I'm not going to pretend for a second it doesn't, but it's not efficient as a storage system. Any claims that the artwork can get ripped or cramped, frankly, that's down to poor quality control in the hands of the artist, I think. If you want to sell a box set, you can sell a CD box set, and it can be absolutely enormous, as this one can prove. Although this is the Blu-ray box set, trust me, that's big, that's heavy, that's weighty. You're selling a CD box set, you can make it a big one. You don't have to moan about the cramped artwork. And the third thing, which I think he mentioned, was around the revenues. Is it say that he wasn't compensated properly for it? There were some very, very abusive contracts in the record industry right when CDs started off that said that because they're an experimental prototype format, you would get a lower royalty rate, or the cost of investment for the CDs would be offset against it. Those were contracts that were signed 35 years ago. If you haven't signed a new contract in the past 35 years, I think you need to talk to your lawyers, because you're not doing yourselves any favours in terms of how you run your business. Remember, it's music and it's a business. If you haven't renegotiated your contracts in 35 years, you are either terrible at business or you've got the best contracts that can ever be negotiated by anybody ever. And I think that's pretty much where I'm going to wrap it up for now. Elvis Costello has said that CD as a format and as a medium is on its way out. That's inaccurate. CD sales are higher per unit than vinyl by a substantial portion. And the only reason that people aren't buying so many CDs is because it's more difficult to buy CDs these days. Less stores carry them, and they're phasing out CD and optical media drives in things like cars, DVD players and PCs as well. Secondly, ripped poor quality booklets. That's a manufacturing and quality issue. It's not essential. You can have large booklets that come with CDs. You can do deluxe editions of CDs that come in 12-inch by 12-inch album sleeve covers. Okay, so moaning about that it just holds no water whatsoever. Okay, thirdly, vinyl as a significantly superior storage system. It isn't. It's got a smaller dynamic range. It sounds lovely. Never going to pretend it doesn't, but it carries about a third or a quarter of the data for the same amount of space, and it's got a smaller dynamic range because of the grooves that you've got on there. So there is no reason for him to say that vinyl is superior. If he just came out and said, guys, I just really love vinyl. I like how it looks, I like how it sounds, I like the feeling of taking the record out, sticking it on the platter, pressing play, and then just listening to a record. Fine, totally. Just be honest about it, mate. Just tell us that's why you like vinyl. I get it. I love just putting on a record and just blocking out everything else and not listening to anything else, and focusing totally on the sounds that are coming out of it, as opposed to sticking a CD in while you do the washing up. I get it. But don't come out with these inaccurate arguments around storage capacity, around quality of the booklets, around royalty rates that were negotiated when Dire Straits still hadn't split up, when Margaret Thatcher was still in power, and when the biggest hard drive that you had on a computer was 48K. I've used on my mobile phone something like 4 gig just filming this in high quality definition. Now, my mental arithmetic is not that much, but 48K is somewhere in the region of tens of thousands bigger, or tens of thousands times smaller. The world has moved on. Renegotiate your contracts if you've got the opportunity to do so. And you've got to remember, a lot of people look at these box sets and they think of them as music delivery systems. If I want to officially own a physical copy of Craftworks 3D catalogue, and I'm concerned about size, and I'm concerned about cost, I'm going to buy the CD version, which costs £40. I'm not going to buy the 8LP box set version that costs £130 and is, by the way, 4 times bigger. That's just not going to be how it works. And at that point, I think what I'm going to say is, if anybody tells you that vinyl is killing the MP3 industry, or that CDs are outdated and obsolete, remember, it's not always going to be the case. It's about how people frame the facts and the information. Okay, the retail price of a CD is about £10. The retail price of a vinyl record is somewhere around 20 to 25. Vinyl is outselling CD in terms of pure revenue alone, because vinyl can eclipse the revenue generated by CDs and only sell 2/5 of the amount. Okay, so don't believe the hype around that. Also, and I think the final thing before I wrap up, is it doesn't really matter what format the record comes on. It doesn't matter if you listen to it, if it's streaming. It doesn't matter if you buy a record or a box set or something along those lines, the main thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that if we love music, we need to support the industry. So this is just merchandising. That's all it is. It's just musical form of merchandising. It's the same as a t-shirt, it's the same as a Metallica brake mat, it's the same as a Kiss coffin. It's a way of putting a logo on an item and getting you to part with your money in exchange for a physical object that you own. That's all this is. This is just merchandising. And ultimately, all these box sets are just that. They're just in a musical form. You know, bands don't seem to have any problems necessarily selling t-shirts or socks or hats or fluffy dice or you know, action figures of their former bass player or anything like that. And that's what we need to remember, is what really, really matters. It's not what this stuff is, it's what this stuff does. And this stuff delivers music to your ears. It delivers art. It delivers mass-produced art in a way that will hopefully enhance and increase the quality of your life. So I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care whether it comes on an LP or a CD. If the record's crap, I'm not buying it. The only thing that really matters to me is the record any good? Is the music any good? Does it move me? Does it speak to me? And can I afford it? And have I got enough space in my man cave for it? And those are the three questions you need to ask, because if you don't like it, don't buy it. If you haven't got the money, you can't buy it. If you haven't got the space for it, don't buy it either. Just support the bands that you love and find joy and beauty in the music that you love, and everything else doesn't matter at all. Not really. Okay, but don't believe anybody who tells you that vinyl is a superior storage medium to CD. Vinyl is at best equal, and CD is in many ways superior. In terms of size, CD delivers far more music in a far smaller package. Don't believe anybody that tells you that the artwork's crappy on CDs. Yes, a 5-inch CD is smaller. By its very existence, it's smaller. But that doesn't mean it's any worse. And remember, when Elvis Costello was talking about box sets, you can do a CD box set, you can do a vinyl box set. What you shouldn't be doing is justifying charging an absolute fortune for something that just isn't value for money. You know, 3 LPs, 3 10 inches and 3 7 inches and a book is not worth £200. Okay, that's where we're talking. That is not worth £200 of anybody's money. And the thing which really, I suppose, matters more than anything else around all of that is that vinyl edition will probably make more profit. And that's probably what he's thinking about. I have no problem with artists making money. In fact, I want them to make money. I want them to make a profit, because if they don't make a profit, they cease to exist. They cease to perform. They cease to record. They cease to play. And then I become the kind of person that sits down and goes, all the good music was made years ago when I was younger. I don't ever want to be like that. But what we really need to remember is LPs and vinyl are not inherently superior. They're not inherently worse. They're just very different. They're bigger. They're more expensive. Okay, CDs are not dying. CDs are being murdered. And it's important that we don't necessarily believe the hype. So that's been a productive use of a Friday night for me. I've managed to tell you about CDs, box sets, show off a few things that I've got. I've remembered something I should have mentioned, by the way, but I'm going to address that later on in another episode, I think. We've talked about house prices, we've talked about the house sizes, we've talked about mortgages, we've talked about the fact that if you buy a box set, it's probably going to cost you as much as you paid for the box set in mortgage payments alone for the space which it's occupying, which is utterly bizarre. And at this point, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for your attention, and I will see you at some other point soon. Thank you very much, and stay beautiful.